Hello, this is episode 7 of Cooking at Home Like a Chef. Welcome. This is the red sauces. Today I'm going to show you two sauces. One, a tomato sauce that we prepared in the restaurant, and the other, a hot and fiery tapanada sauce that we also served. All coming up next. Here we go. In the restaurant, we serve Spanish meatballs called albondigas. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. Actually, I'm not sure I ever have. But we served them anyway, and they were very popular, presented in a rich and thick tomato sauce with a pimento. On the screen is the recipe for preparing the meatballs. This will produce 12 2-ounce meatballs, about golf ball size. As you can see, this is a basic recipe, and like any recipe, it's the flavor profile that makes the difference. It's the spices you use and the preparation technique that will take your taste buds on that journey, and you apply it to both the meatballs and the sauce. Here's a quick view of the equipment and ingredients I'll be using to create the recipes today. I use a mini food processor to create the breadcrumbs, a cheese grater to grate the cheese, and a blender to liquefy the sauce ingredients. I use a Vitamix. If you don't have a Vitamix, just use a regular blender. Use the blender you have and strain the mix afterwards to remove the graininess. I'll also be using baking trays and cooking pots, which are not shown. And here are the ingredients. I'll be making 3 sauces today, the tomato sauce, the tapanada sauce, and a lightly spiced stepping sauce. And 2 comments here. I'm not recommending any particular brand. I'm only giving you a picture of the ingredients. The brand you use is up to you. In most cases, I'm looking for the least expensive of a quality, reliable ingredient. At home, just like in the restaurant, good ingredients make a good meal, but you must also control your food cost per plate. Apply reasonable compromises when needed. My second comment is, I use a Mediterranean oregano. It has a different flavor than any other oregano. Nicer, smoother, less bitter. Mexican oregano is the most common one marketed and the most likely source found in the supermarket, even the expensive brands. Alright, let's begin. I'll start with roasting the bell pepper for the meatballs. I've demonstrated this technique in details in episodes 2 and 5, so I'll make this very brief today. And onto a tray with a spray of oil and a sprinkle of salt, then into the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. Now that's my toaster oven. Your time may vary. Now I'll quickly prepare the remaining ingredients, starting with the parsley. Use fresh parsley, not dried. The type is called curly parsley and has a tight curled leaf structure. Do not use a flat leaf or broadleaf parsley. They will taste more like coriander, which is not the flavor profile I want today. Give this a fine chop, including the stems, which is where most of the herb flavor is found. Store in the refrigerator in a plastic bag with a dry paper towel. It'll hold for about a week. Medium dice an onion. Mince 2 garlic cloves. Remove the paper and the root end, slice, and mash. Grate the Parmesan cheese. Process the dried bread into bread crumbs. I'm using 3 end pieces of wheat bread which I've dried out in the oven. Use white bread if that's what you have. Either will work just fine. Now, in a mixing bowl, place 1 pound of ground beef. To that, add 2 tablespoons of parsley, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I use kosher sea salt, but table salt will work too. Add 1/4 cup breadcrumbs, 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, grated, 1 beaten egg, 4 ounces of red wine. I'm using a Cabernet. Add 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Mix everything together. A word of caution here, don't overmix this. It will make the meatball too dense. The meat just needs to be blended so it holds together. This is going into my toaster oven, which I've set to 400 degrees. I've sprayed my baking tray with a little oil, and I have it sitting atop my scale. Weigh out 2 ounces of meat and form into a ball. Coat in flour. When finished, into the oven they go. While the meatballs are cooking, I'll prepare the sauce. The recipe is up on the screen. This sauce is specifically for the meatballs. However, it can easily be adapted for other uses, such as pasta or pizza, with the addition of Italian seasoning. This is a base sauce. How it finishes is your choice. Into my blender container, I'm adding 14 ounces of unflavored, unseasoned tomatoes. They can be whole tomatoes or diced, it doesn't matter, either one works. Add to that 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. Then my garlic. I want the fresh garlic flavor in my sauce without encountering pieces of garlic on my tongue as I eat. Therefore, I blend it into the sauce rather than cooking it with the onions. Add 1/2 cup of white wine. Here I'm using a crisp white. 1 teaspoon of ground thyme. Blend for 1 minute, then check for seasoning. I think a touch of oregano would help. I added 1/2 tablespoon of Mediterranean oregano. Blend this for an additional 1 minute. Then I think we're ready for the stove. In a 3-quart saucepan over medium plus heat, number 7 on my dial, add 2 tablespoons of oil. Tip in the diced onions. Cook until they become soft. Sweat them down, don't caramelize them. You can use a vegetable oil or an olive oil. Just remember, if you use an olive oil, do not let it smoke in the pan. Olive oil becomes unhealthy for you if it does. Alright, these are looking ready. They've lost their bright white color. Add in the tomato mix. Stir this to blend and bring it to a boil. I did deviate from the base recipe slightly by cooking in a few strips of yellow bell pepper. I think they give the sauce a sweeter flavor, but they are completely optional. Once you've reached a boil, lower the heat and simmer, reducing the mixture by 1/3. I use a splatter guard to keep it in the pan and off of everything else. Keep an eye on the sauce while it reduces, stirring it to prevent it from sticking on the bottom and burning. In the meantime, the meatballs have come out of the oven. When the sauce is reduced by 1/3, add in the meatballs and the red pepper strips and continue simmering for another 10 minutes to bring it all together. Now you might be asking yourself at this moment, why did I cook the meatballs separately? Why not just put them in the sauce to cook? The answer is the flavor profile. There are indeed recipes out there where the meat is cooked in the sauce, bolognese for one. However, in this recipe, I'm not looking for a meat sauce flavor. I want the sauce and meatball flavor to complement each other as a whole, yet retain their individuality. Also, the fats and juices that will come out of the ground beef as it cooks can make the sauce taste like a greasy hamburger. Here, I used a 90-10 fat ratio in the meat, so I probably won't have that problem. But if you used an 80-20 or a 70-30, it would definitely change the flavor of the sauce if you cook the meat in it. My timer has gone off and we're ready. This is coming off the heat. It's ready to plate and serve now. However, if you let it cool off a bit, you can refrigerate it or freeze it and use it for another time. And here we have it, albóndigas con salsa rojo, meatballs in red sauce. Now I'll make the tapanada sauce. Now this is a spicy sauce, great for dipping, great as a marinade for cooking, but when I say it's a spicy sauce, I'm not kidding. If you're used to spicy foods and you like that as part of your meal, then you'll like this sauce. It's flavorful and you won't run away screaming. However, if you're the kind of person who reacts to the mild heat of a jar of jalapenos, then this sauce may not be for you. I advise caution. Here's something else I think you should know. This sauce uses crushed red pepper flakes. Like all peppers of this class, they contain a natural acid, which is released under heat and abrasion. In other words, if you touch it, and if you cook it. This applies to cleanup as well. Do not touch your face or eyes or nose. The acid can transfer to these sensitive areas and burn you. As you cook, don't lean over the pan. Same thing goes at the sink for cleanup. The rising heat of the stove or the rising heat from the hot water will carry those acid particles upwards. You could breathe them in. It can take your breath away. Protect yourself and run the exhaust hood over the stove. At the sink, rinse in cold water first to clear the surface, then use soap and hot water to clean. I'm not kidding here. All right, with that said, here's the recipe. It'll make about 2 cups. I'm going to use an 8-inch skillet to start. The stove is off at the moment and the skillet is cold. Step 1, blend the ingredients. Start with 5 tablespoons of paprika. Add to that 5 tablespoons of crushed red pepper flakes. 2 teaspoons of seasoned salt, followed by 2 teaspoons of ground garlic, and 2½ teaspoons of taco seasoning. You can make your own, of course. I often do, or you can use an off-the-shelf brand like I'm using here today. Mix together, breaking up any clumps of spice before adding the liquids. Now add the first cup of orange juice. There will be 2 cups total. I'm only adding 1 at the moment. Add 1/4 cup of olive oil. And 1 ounce of white vinegar. Use the whisk to incorporate everything together. Then add the bay leaves. Set the heat to high and bring the mixture to the boiling point. Stir to keep it from sticking on the bottom and burning. Now that the mixture has reached temperature, add the 2nd cup of orange juice. I guess I should admit here, there is no real reason for separating the orange juice addition like I have. I do it out of habit. It's the way I developed the sauce in the beginning, and I guess I've just stuck with it over the years. But you could throw it all in at once. Bringing it back to the boil, lower the heat to medium plus, number 6 on my dial, and reduce the mixture to a saucy consistency. You'll know you've reached that point when it just starts to begin leaving trails in the sauce as you move the spatula through it. For me, it took 15 minutes to get to this point. Now I'm going to take it off the heat and strain it. Tap the side of the strainer. This will release the liquid, leaving most of the graininess behind, along with any other large particles. And there you have it, tapanada sauce. This sauce will refrigerate or freeze very well, or of course, We could use it now. So there we have it, the tapenade sauce. Ready in about 15 minutes. Simple ingredients. Hot, powerful, flavorful. But in order to complement the meal that it goes with, we need another sauce. It's what I call a step-down sauce or a stepping sauce. It's going to be mayonnaise based, and I'm going to take a little bit of hot sauce, like the one we just made, and I'm going to blend that in just a touch. The purpose of this is so that as you're going through the meal with the main sauce on there, which is heating up your mouth, that your taste buds have a place to hide with a little bit of sauce that's stepped down from there. You'll still retain the flavor, it'll still be great, but they can cool themselves off. A stepping sauce. I'll show you how to make it. For my stepping sauce, I need just a little mayonnaise and some hot sauce. Now I could use the sauce I've already made, but I'm going to use a different sauce. This is called tapatio. I like using this sauce for the step-down sauce because it is not vinegar-based. As you remember, we put vinegar in the sauce we just made. This is what gives your taste buds a place to go to. Still hot, still spicy, still flavorful, but without that sharpness of the vinegar. A little bit of mayonnaise, maybe half a cup. Doesn't require much. And you don't need a precise measurement either. And just a touch more. Our step-down sauce. Here are the two sauces, a dark and rich tapenade sauce and a light pink-orange step-down cooling sauce. Now that we have those ready, let's do something with them. I'm going to prepare a chicken and shrimp tapenade plate. On the screen is a recipe. This is an excellent dish, very tasty and satisfying, a lunch favorite in the restaurant. Today I'll prepare it for lunch for my wife and I. The plate consists of chicken breast cut into pieces with shrimp that have been marinated and cooked in the tapenade sauce. I like to present this atop a bed of fresh shredded lettuce and topped with the cooling sauce. I serve it with tapenade sauce on the side and sweet yellow bell peppers for dipping. As you can see, I started with a skinless chicken breast, first cutting it into strips. Then pieces. They go into a bowl with some tapenade sauce to marinate. Next, I cleaned and shelled the shrimp. These are 2125s, and I have 5 for each of us. Into the marinade they go with the chicken. A note on the shrimp: save those shell casings. Put them in a baggie and freeze them for later use in making lobster sauce. I'll let that set for at least 10 minutes. While the shrimp and chicken are marinating, I'll clean the cutting board, flip it over, and prepare the lettuce for plating. I'll use a chiffonade cut for the lettuce. I demoed that in video 2 if you're interested. Now it's time to cook. In a frying skillet over medium plus heat, number 8 on my stove, dip in the chicken and shrimp and sauce from the marinating container. Keep the pieces moving in the pan for even cooking. They will cook fast. You can tell when the shrimp is cooked when the tail and body are starting to curl together and they feel firm but still have a give to the touch. If they're hard, well, that's overcooked. But in this case, it's okay, use them anyway. Just do better next time. Remember, they'll continue to cook from the residual heat. Well, these are done. I'm removing them from the pan. When cooked, the chicken will feel firm, not spongy. Cut open a piece if you're not sure. It should be white all the way through. These are done. Time to plate. These are my 2 favorite Art Deco plates, perfect for this meal. Start with a bed of lettuce. Plate the shrimp. followed by the chicken. Arrange it on the plate like you'd want to have it presented to you at your favorite restaurant. Next, I'm adding sliced onion to the plate. My wife likes onion. I'll put it on both plates, but when we sit down, I'll offer mine to her. She likes onion, and I like her, so. Now I'll add the sweet yellow bell pepper slices. These go great with that tapanada sauce. And on my wife's plate, I'll give her some ranch dressing, because I know she likes that too. Now I'm going to dab on some of the step-down cooling sauce, a little on the shrimp and some on the chicken. Not too much, just enough to give a counterbalance to the taste of the meal. Then I'll finish with some tapanada sauce on the side. And here we are, chicken and shrimp tapanada with accompaniments. Well, that's the end of this video. Thank you once again. Until next time.